Blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning on 580 AM, 107.5 FM. Our Kevin Miller cash code word of the day is park. That's right, park. Make sure you listen at 605, 805, and 305 during the Sean Hannity Show for the cash code word where you could win up to $5,000. Joining us now, Doug Giles of Clash Daily. It's been a while. Good morning, Doug.
Kevin, what's shaking, man?
Not much. What is
Did you hear I got a new book, Rules for Radical Christians, 10 Biblical Disciplines of Influential Believers? Can you imagine that?
Well, if you've written it, Doug, we're definitely going to buy it and follow it. Always great to have you on. First off, what's the state of the Republic?
The state of the Republic, according to CNN, or Donald Trump, I think it's good, man. We just rolled out Trump's first 500 days, and much to the chagrin of Hillary, Anderson Cooper, the Stormy Daniels Network, which is also called CNN, it's alive and well, and it's kicking butt. And I'd also like to point out to the Never Trumpkins, starting with Glenn Beck, and other evangelicals who said that Trump was going to be a disaster for our economy. He's going to flip-flop on marriage and abortion. He hasn't. It's not. And when are you going to issue your apology? Can you believe how wrong they were, brother? I mean, just absolutely, completely out in left field, totally wrong on what he would do for our economy and what he would do in regards to social issues. I mean, it's sad. And to think that these guys are getting paid, millions of dollars to prattle on and blather about this stuff. And again, their crystal ball couldn't have been more cloudy.
Well, mentioning Glenn Beck, it was a strategic bad call at the line of scrimmage for him, and he continues to do that. And he's entitled to do his own thing, but he didn't get on the Trump train, kept going on and on about it. And, there's a way back, as you pointed out, Doug. I wish that he would take it.
Well, a lot of my colleagues over at townhall.com, when I started, all I was doing, Kevin, when I was seeing the momentum build behind Trump was just, doing prognostications like, well, look at those huge rallies. You don't have those huge rallies on the left or the right. Any of his competitors, as great as they were as human beings and as politicians. And I was just saying, this thing's a movement. He's going to steamroll whomever, whether it's whoever's going against him in the primaries or poor Hillary or Bernie if they get the nod for the general. I could just see it, and yet my colleagues on the left like, oh no, he's a disaster, he's a bore. We need somebody who's never committed adultery or said grab him by the you-know-what. And I remember telling this one guy in this debate, he was talking about how Christians shouldn't support Donald Trump because of his past. I said, so you wouldn't support anybody who's committed adultery? Absolutely not. We need standards. What about somebody who uses bad language? No. And I said, well, okay, so you don't stand behind King David. He committed adultery and murder. So you don't read his Psalms and you don't read his exploits in 1st and 2nd Samuel. What about Moses? He killed a man. Do you think the Ten Commandments are okay? And he had huge anger problems. And Samson dated a hooker. Hello. And the list goes on and on. Abraham boinked his maid and gave birth to Ishmael, and he's the father of the Christian faith. It's so horrible what they said and did, and then to see the illustrious examples of what has occurred in the first 500 days from an economic standpoint, Dow smashing records, unemployment way down, Kevin, black unemployment. It's just completely at a historic low. Same thing true for women, same thing true for Hispanics. And then he's getting little Kim to come and bow and kiss his ring, probably over in Singapore, on June 12th?
Yes, sir. Doug Giles joining us, ClashDaily.com. I got to hit you with this. I love on your site where you go after CNN for calling, for going after Trump because, look, he called MS-13 what they are, animals. And, is Jesus an animal too? Is a great point for those people that missed it. Could you expand on that?
Yeah, when Trump called, again, the MS-13 gang, most vicious gang, I think, on this side of the planet at least. I mean, these guys sex traffic. They don't just, lightly murder. They'll take a 14-year-old girl and smash her skull with a baseball bat 28 times, rape her carcass, then behead her and throw her off a bridge. And in my book, that's kind of animalistic. Maybe it's worse than an animal. And so anyway, I was defending Trump, calling him an animal when Nancy Pelosi, Kevin, she said, even these children have sparks of divinity. They got a spark, all right. They're sparking some crystal meth or some weed. And if they have a spirit in them, it ain't a divine spirit. It's an evil spirit. So anyway, I go back to the Bible, me being the Christian that I am, the soft-spoken believer. And I dredge out where Peter and Paul both called impenitent, implacable people, like the MS-13 gang, brute beast who should be captured and killed. Paul called the citizens of Crete. He said these guys are beasts. He said they're constant liars and they're lazy gluttons. And then Jesus, we call him Jesus Cristo down in Miami where I used to live. He called a woman a dog, Kevin. He said, I don't throw what's holy to dogs. And can you imagine if sweet and cuddly Jesus was schlepping this pebble nowadays and CNN got a hold of him calling a chick a dog? He would not he would be under Twitter attack. He'd be being hashtag right now. And he also said to certain people groups, he said, listen, I don't give pearls, I don't throw my treasures before swine. So swine, dogs, evil beasts, to be captured and killed, lazy gluttons. And I haven't even touched the Psalms yet or the prophets who used way more terse verbiage than Trump did about a vicious, violent gang. And it just shows how duplicitous and CNN is, while Samantha Bee says that Ivanka Trump is a feckless C word. You got to be kidding me. They're the king of crass, and all of a sudden, Kevin, they morph into pearl-clutching, evangelicals, oh, Beauregard, when Trump calls animalistic behavior animals. So it's journalism, man. It's dead, and to commemorate its passing, you ought to see this, man. We brought out CNN toilet paper, and we've got crap tons, no pun intended, of the CNN toilet paper. I'm looking at 6 rolls right now. They're selling out real quick. We got it. We did a big deep discount. We got it for like $6 a roll over at the Clash Daily store. And hopefully President Trump is going to put them in the White House, in particular right across from the press corps where Sarah Sanders does all of her morning briefs and stuff. That way Jim Acosta, he'll have no other recourse but to use the CNN toilet paper.
Doug Giles joining us, ClashDaily.com. Coming up, we're going to talk about rules for radical Christians. But first, at KIDO Talk Radio, let's get back to this Philadelphia Eagles. I know you're dying to talk about that in the NFL. Trump's beaten everybody, including the NFL.
Yeah, and again, Trump has tapped a vein of widespread thing called respect for our country, respect for the flag and what it represents, and our anthem. And the leftist doofus who think that they're going to make hay off this widespread animus towards our anthem and patriotism and do it via the NFL completely. I'm telling you, man, completely missed the boat. It's going to be really interesting. I don't know if you saw Hannity last night, but, bro, he waffle stomped Goodell in the NFL. It's going to be very interesting, man, to see what happens this fall when they start their little games and stuff. ESPN is already bleeding. They've lost so many subscribers. April was a complete abysmal disaster for them with people bailing out. I think it was Elon Musk talking about an alliance football league that's going to start up. I'd love to see that compete with the now taken over by the left, run by petulant NFL thugs, this anti-American crap that has completely gutted America's national pastime. College football, alliance football league, I think it would be brilliant. And just let the NFL die with their radical politics and their leftist agenda just through attrition.
Doug Giles joining us from Clash Daily, ClashDaily.com. Let's talk about your new book, Rules for Radical Christians. It seems like we're marginalized. We've been put in the closet, and never mind the victory by Jack Phillips the other day. You know, if you're a Christian in America, there's a target on your back.
Yeah, if you're especially if you're a white Christian, and quadruply especially if you're a male white Christian, you're definitely the Antichrist for the sassy, secular, postmodern America that they're trying to foist on us. But you know what? That shouldn't make any Christian, red, yellow, black, and white, make them curl up in the fetal position. What I do in my book is that I look for a time that was worse, Kevin, than what we're going through in America. Everybody's like, well, it's never been this bad. Yeah, it has. And for those who don't think that it's been that bad, actually, I think it's on the upswing, but I could be wrong. I'm always accused of being optimistic, even though I can make Van Gogh look like a rodeo clown sometimes. But in the scripture, Kevin, Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they were drug off into Babylon. And as teenagers, man, and listen, Nebuchadnezzar would make Obama, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Pelosi, and Hillary Clinton look like penitent Amish schoolmarms. He was one of the wicked, most powerful kings, and one of the most. It was one of the most titillating kingdoms, historically speaking. One of the wonders of the world, Babylon, and one of the most completely godless place. And Daniel, as a teenager, with his buddies, pursued excellence in 10 particular disciplines, and they effectively flipped that king and kingdom around. So my point is, instead of whining and moaning and being a wuss and curling up in the fetal position and asking Jesus to hurry up and rapture everybody out of this mess, why doesn't the church become a little bit more disciplined in serious areas especially? And instead of separating from the culture or absorbing the culture, how about infiltrating the culture and flipping it around like Daniel and his amigos did?
Doug Giles, we always appreciate you. What are you working on next?
Our Warriors and Wildmen podcast, Kevin, I don't know if I told you about this. We soft launched it a year ago, June 1st, and 500,000 downloads, man. And it's warriorsandwildmen.com, and great stuff. We're making masculinity great again. We're putting balls and brains on believers. So that's what I'm up to.
Doug, we always appreciate you. Thank you for joining us today, and look forward to having you back again, sir.
Yeah, buddy. Stay ready, Kevin.
All right. Our great friend Doug Giles. Phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And as Sean talks about and Lars Larson talks about, they're, again, continuing to try to take away our America. This is what happened yesterday during the White House press briefing with Sarah Sanders on 580 AM, 107.5 FM.
Question, Stephen.
About police-involved shootings. Is the president aware that this is about police-involved shootings and not about disrespect?
Now, here you have it, April Ryan, who is from the American Urban Networks. She wasn't called upon, but she decided she was not going to follow the rules, and she was going to dictate her question to the press secretary.
Respecting the flag. Is the president aware of that, Sarah, please? I understand you're going to Stephen, but I'm asking, there's an underlying issue, and it just keeps going about disrespect of the flag and soldiers. There are black and brown soldiers that fight in the military as well who feel that taking a knee, bringing attention to police-involved shootings is something that this White House should deal with. Is the president aware that taking the knee is about police-involved shootings?
The president has made his position crystal clear, and that it's about... I let you rudely interrupt me and your colleague. I'm going to ask that you allow me to finish my answer. I would be happy to answer it if you would stop talking long enough to let me do that. The president has made his position crystal clear on this topic. He feels strongly that standing for our national anthem is something that we should do, something that matters to what makes our country special and unique and what sets us apart. He's not going to waver on that, and he's not going to apologize for it. And frankly, more than 70% of Americans agree with him on that matter. If you go back to what the original intent was, this has been made a political argument of which the president is not going to back down from, and he's been clear on it. Stephen, last question. April, I've addressed your question. I'm not going to continue to engage with you. Stephen.
The NFL is now telling people they have to stand. Will the president deal with the issue of police-involved shootings?
I'm going to deal with the issue of addressing your colleague's question.
It's a real question. Can you take it to the president and come back to us with it?
Stephen, go ahead.
Always happy to yield to a colleague, but let me ask you about Scott Pruitt.
There you have it. That's what we're up against. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Defending Your America next with Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. And Kevin Miller in the morning here, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Good morning, Tea Party Bob.
Good morning, Mr. Miller. How are you today?
I am living the dream, and you?
Well, you have a lot of rankest people on your show this morning. They're really cutting up the rug there. What's happening?
Well, that's what we do.
I see. Well, listening to your show and thinking about how our country has changed since I was in high school, it gives me chills to see the disrespect that we have from many of our youth today. And you really can't blame them. The blame needs to be squarely on our shoulders. Because when we look back, we're the ones who were so engaged in other activities in our lives, we never paid much attention to who was teaching our kids and what they were learning in the public schools. We've allowed the progressives to take over and lead us in a direction that our forefathers have never wanted us to go in. If you remember, at the close of the Constitutional Convention in 1787, Franklin was queried as he left Independence Hall by Dr. James McHenry, and a lady asked, he was the one who actually took the notes. The lady asked, well, doctor, we got a republic or a monarchy. Which one? And Franklin said, a republic if you can keep it. We had a taste of the monarchy part for 8 years with Obama, with the disrespect of our country as he became a de facto dictator with the use of these executive orders. He and his inner circle were all products of the progressive education we allow to be taught in our schools today. We've taken the key component out of our school, and you and I grew up with, and that was God. And when you take God out of the education system, you take morals, ethics, and respect out of it at the same time. So we no longer have control of our education system from a local level. We've allowed the education system to be run by the federal and state governments, and basically the deep state people who have entrenched themselves there for years and years. And we've allowed them and said it's okay for them to push their liberal ideas in our education system year after year. These people are the ones who have been the instrument in changing the way the kids think. They have even changed our history in the education system to where most people wouldn't even recognize it if we went back and took a history course.
Well, look, you go back to that Spider-Man movie, and instead of wanting to go on the Washington Memorial, she doesn't want to go because it was built by slaves.
And that's exactly what I'm saying.
What is that
here.
about?
Well, you know, look, the progressives are like a field of dandelions. You need to take them and pluck them out by the root and toss them in the trash. Nothing will change until we get to the root cause of the problem. And that means real parental involvement in educating our children and no longer sending them to the public daycare centers that so that they can be free to do what they want to do.
Well, that's a good point, and we'll build on that. Anything else?
I hope you have a wonderful day and keep doing what you're doing.
All right. Thank you, Tea Party Bob.
Take care, my friend.
You too. Traffic and weather together at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Dave.
I'm just Channel 7's Rick Everett.
And I'm Kevin Miller on 580 AM, 107.5 FM. And you know, I think it comes down to, how do you make a society a success? There was a great book, and I've talked about this for quite some time. I haven't done it in a while, called The United States of Incompetence. And it's out of print. It's written by Art Carey, I believe, a writer from the Philadelphia Inquirer. And fortunately, I had a chance to get it on eBay or Amazon or something like that. And it really goes back to the breakdown of work, of schools. Everything goes down to the breakdown of the family. And he goes from industry to ethics to morals to the family. And it really comes down to how much do you value, and truthfully, how much time do you have to value what your children are taught. Some people believe that you send your kid to school and the teacher should teach and take care of the kid, and the parent is absolved of any type of responsibility. That's the furthest thing from the truth. You talk to educators, you talk to parents of successful children, most of them are homeschooled. And really, just like anything in life, if you want to get ahead, well, then you work on your own time. This is not meant as a lecture. It is not meant to disrespect people that are working 2 or 3 jobs to support their family and don't have the time to make sure that somebody did their homework, to forge a personal relationship with a teacher. It's like anything. It's what you put into it, right? And we'll discuss that, and I'd love to get your feedback on that at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. It would be nice if we could do our jobs and have some comp time. But either there's someone working to take our jobs, whether in our industry, whether in our life, or we're not bettering ourselves and bettering our children. And it might seem a little abstract, but I am going to bring it home when we're talking about getting our culture, getting our country back. Quick break next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. R&R joins us now at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, R&R.
Good morning, K. Millie Militia. Yeah, I just wanted to speak or voice of reason and my professional opinion and experience. I came back to Oregon, back from Oregon 5 years ago. My house has gone up 100% since I bought it, and I can and probably will sell it for a profit, but I put a lot of sweat labor in a whole new roof and yada yada. That tends to be my person. I got the skill set. But I know without any reservation and without making independent any stories, there are people in my pay grade, having worked 50 years for salary in my life, that are being priced right out of their houses. And secondly, so the price of Sky, the concept of Max, there's a reasonable man. I'll just acquiesce to anything Max has to say. Lastly, you are the voice of reason and the voice of light in the wilderness. And I'm really certain that you have purpose to stay in the Treasure Valley. And you are the nucleus of a grassroots movement to curb the tide of the Pinko Commie. May you and yours live happily and find that next plateau that you're going to stand on.
Well, hopefully our plateau is with you, R&R. Like I said, they can get everybody. They got Michael Jordan. They've gotten few people, and I never take it for granted my days with you. You never know. You never know.
Well, I do know that you have unending skill set. I'll say it again. If we were on the Sea of Galilee and the Savior and the apostles were nearby, you could interview them from the heart and with the cadence and with the purity to get the information that you're looking for. And there's a lot of us out here at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the morning promptly. And I'm going to advocate one more time for those of my brothers that are incarcerated. And it's time for prison and incarceration reform in the state of Idaho. It's curious that your mother and my mother lived 20 years across the hill from each other back there in New Hampshire, and someday all the kismet and all the overlaying of histories, but I rarely hear live free and die in the state of Idaho, but that really ought to be our motto. Live free and die.
Before they replace it with come hither and pay taxes.
Pinko commies and bring your realtors.
R&R, thank you for the call. Phone number is here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And by the way, just because we appreciate you listening, I have a pair of tickets to Bare Naked Ladies. They will be at Outlaw Field tomorrow. That's right, tomorrow. So if you would like to win a pair of tickets to see Bare Naked Ladies, Ray, you care if we do this now? We'll do it right now. Caller 10 at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. You're going to win tickets to see Bare Naked Ladies at Outlaw Field, the last summer on Earth 2018, rain or shine, low chairs only, no outside alcohol. And just our way of thanking you for listening to Kevin Miller Mornings on 580 AM, 107.5 FM. And while we're doing that, back to this topic about indoctrination in schools and what kids are taught in entertainment and what kids are taught in education. It really comes down to the time you put into with your kid. Now, Kevin, you're not a parent. No, that wasn't God's plan for me. I remember my friend, and you never know what God's plan is for us, my friend Nancy Grace, when I was doing some work for her a few years ago. And television has a great reach, right? People love to watch TV or the videos, but there's something that's indescribable, the magic of what we have together. It goes back to Dr. Frank Conrad creating America's first radio station, America's first broadcast in 1920. And as we get ready to celebrate the 100th anniversary of radio, there is something that is intimately revealing about people that we talk to. You know, we had the EPA administrator, Scott Pruitt, on. The only media outlet that the administration would talk to yesterday was this one right here with you. It was because of you. And I just remember Nancy Grace saying before she had her kids and got married and had her kids, you know, that wasn't God's plan for her. And it was with a little sadness in her voice. But God has a plan for all of us. So as a former educator and going to schools more than any other broadcaster in America, I think I have some insight on really what works. And you have people that say they start off with this animosity type relationship between the educators and the parents. Well, these teachers this, these teachers that, and they need to teach my kid. Well, no, the teacher's job is to pass on the curriculum to the kid. The parent's job, and you know this, I'm amazed at people young and old that are parents, how much energy that drains out of you, okay? And how much energy we must have had as kids. But to be great at something, it means learning a new skill. To have a kid that is going to be good in school, then you're teaching them A, B, C, the alphabet. You're teaching them mathematics. You're instilling a love of learning. And I've learned that through our friends at Grade Point Learning as well, that it can be fun. You know, when you go to Grade Power Learning and, you know, learning is fun. But at 580-5436, we've abdicated the role of parent and created this massive institution. And the teachers will tell you this. I mean, kids come in through no fault of their own, and they get breakfast. They get lunch. There are many schools within the listening sound of my voice that because the kids aren't going to school now, they don't get breakfast. They don't get lunch. And so if you're not getting the essentials, how can you value education? And in some families, education is not valued, right? People go to work on the this and that, they bust their butt, and they move on. But to get kids back to it, whether it's through homeschooling, which I admire the heck out of people that make that huge commitment, or if it's people that spend extra money to send their kids to private school, or, you know, as we've detailed, there are great public educational schools in our area. But it's going home, it's making learning an activity. It's making learning fun. It's investing in your child, not letting them be raised by Timmy the Train, the Teletubbies, or whomever else, right? It's what you put into it. And when people start teaching the bad things about America and there's no stopgap, there's no school board meetings, there's no nothing of that, then you have an issue. And that's what we're dealing with today. And when you had Obama running things, we were on the run, but now we're not. By the way, congratulations to Nate in Caldwell, who won the tickets to see the Bare Naked Ladies. We appreciate Nate listening, and you'll pick up those tickets today. The show is tomorrow. Remember, our KIDO cash code word of the day is park, along with splash. Listen for the third word during Sean Hannity, and you could win up to $5,000. Details at KIDOTalkRadio.com. Jim in Middleton, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Kevin. How are you this morning?
Not bad. Blessed to be a part of your day. And you, sir?
Well, likewise. Thank you. Anyway, real quick, Kevin, I wanted to comment on the fellow that called a while ago, the 3B fella. That's great. I just love to hear people getting inspired and traditional Americans finally standing up, pushing back. We're still tolerant people, but we're just not going to be put in the back of the bus. So I'm just really happy to hear these people calling in and standing. And also this thing you mentioned about the lunch programs in school. Kevin, that's the worst thing we can do to our children is feed them at school. All we're doing is sending a message that their parents can't take care of their children properly and that their surrogate mothers and fathers, big brother of the government, is supposed to feed these children. So, and I'm not saying this in a mean, cruel way because I don't want to pay for their food or blah, blah, blah. We're teaching socialism and ineptness to these kids. And how they can have any respect for their mom and dad if they don't feed them. That's their responsibility. You want strong kids, and like that fella said, balls, brains, and belief, then you're going to have to start feeding yourself. Anyway, there it is, Kevin. Talk to you later.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate you listening.
Yeah, bye-bye now.
Bye-bye. Phone number is 580-5436. 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller in the morning as we take a look at just, again, what's it going to take. You see the president bringing America back. You see people embracing America. I love, we've been debating about the Philadelphia Eagles and everything else. Look, that's not the America anymore, but this is what we're up against. We are up against an opponent that does not like America, that will not stand for the national anthem. You have the media trying to give them cover. The media just doesn't get it. It's kind of like that movie. He's just not into you. The president just isn't into the media. The president isn't into pacifying the media. The president isn't into trying to get along with the media. The president is into serving the American public. And that's what we elected him to do.
The Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles supposed to be the White House today, but last night the White House press office issued a statement from the president that said the Eagles were disinvited because they disagree with their president because he insists that they proudly stand for the national anthem, hand on heart, in honor of the great men and women of our military and the people of our country.
So instead of throwing an Eagles celebration, the president hosted an anthem party. And if you're thinking, I've never heard of an anthem party, yeah, there's no such thing. And you would think that if you invited people over for a patriotism party, you would at least know the words to America's favorite songs.
No Eagles players took a knee or stayed in the locker room during the anthem last season.
That under Trump, no one wants to visit the White House anymore. Right? The Golden State Warriors wouldn't go last year. The Eagles won't go this year. In fact, the Cleveland Browns released a statement saying the only reason they've never won the Super Bowl is because they don't want to meet Trump.
Remember when late-night comedians used to represent America? Gosh, I miss Jay Leno. Tom in Nampa, good morning. You're on with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Tom.
Well, good morning. I'm getting to like President Trump better every day. I think I agree with him on the Eagles. I agree with him on the talking about calling MS-13 bunch of animals, because that's exactly what they are. And, I remembered I had an old T-shirt, old Eagles T-shirt. I'm not a big fan of sports, but I think I bought it because I like the eagle on it. And my dog messed on the floor the other day, so I decided to use that for a rag to clean it up, and I threw the garbage can. So anyway, I'm with him on that. But I'm not with these people that trash the public schools. I don't know why that's got to be their favorite whipping boy, because I think there have been some problems. There's also been some improvements. Why don't they ever talk about how back in the old days, if a kid was different, a lot of times he was picked on and bullied, and that's, to the most degree, not allowed anymore. Also, minority students were segregated, and they're not any longer. They could excel just like any other student, and we've had desegregation. So in many ways, there's been an improvement. I worked as a volunteer grandpa in a public school. I think I've said this before. And right over the door was treat other people like you want to be treated. You can still instill basically Christian values in the public system with responsibility, citizenship, treating your fellow man well, and those have not been taken out of the public schools. It's just that you can't teach religious dogma. That's something that should be done at the home.
Well, tell that to the people in Detroit.
Well, that's Detroit, but I don't think here, and I was in California, and I saw that in California where they taught responsibility, and there was no bullying allowed. I remember when I was in school, bullying was a common thing. If a kid was a little bit different, he was bullied mercilessly, and the teachers didn't do a whole lot about it. Today, they don't put up with it. So I think that's a plus. So why don't they say some good things that have happened and quit? There's a lot of good teachers out there. They're out of school now. I don't know how many up listen to this show, but to just
we have quite a few teachers that listen to this program, actually, because, we go to schools, we make sure that we hear all sides, whether we agree or disagree. And like I said, everybody blames the teacher this, the teacher that.
Well, sometimes these teachers do, they have to deal with what they've got. And some of these kids come from homes that are broken up. And I think the demise of the American family has been a lot of what has contributed to our problems in this country. Now, you can't blame the schools for that. I think we can lay a lot of it at the kind of entertainment we have these days and from Hollywood. A lot, there's stuff being shown today that would have never been tolerated on primetime television even 20 years ago. So I just wish people quit pounding on the schools that they're the fountain of all evil, because the public schools, I think, do by and large a pretty good job. There are private schools where you can afford to send your kid to one. So, look on the bright side once in a while. I don't think the whole country's gone to hell in a handbasket.
Right. Tell that to the press. Thank you, Tom. Chris in Caldwell, Kevin Miller, 580 AM, 107.5 FM. Good morning, Chris.
Hey, how you doing, Kevin?
Great, and you?
Good. It's always good to hear your voice and on the phone. A couple things. First of all, my grandpa stormed the beaches of Normandy. He was a mine sweep, so he was one of the first men on the beach at that great dreadful day, all in one. But my comments is our country has done a pretty fair job of not getting us in or keeping us out of war over the last X amount of years. And my biggest thought is these kids now don't have anything to worry about. They don't have anything to fight for. Their idea of fighting for something is sticking condoms up their nose and putting their head in their butt. If they had something to be fearful of, like the Cuban Missile Crisis, or are we going to get bombed today, I think maybe something like that may scare them into thinking a little bit more, maybe being a little bit patriotic. But everything they have right now, they believe is just a right that was given to them instead of something that somebody actually died for so they could feel free and live in this country.
Chris, I couldn't agree with you more. God bless, and thank you for sharing that story.
Hey, Kevin, and you keep doing what you're doing. I don't agree with all your callers all the time, And sometimes we may not agree on some things, but I'll tell you what, you're standing up for what you believe in, and you're making a difference in our community. And, God bless you and God bless your show, sir.
God bless you, Chris. Take care.
Yep.
Thank you for the nice comments. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Ron Paul Jim, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller.
Morning, Kevin. That last caller just spurred my my thought process on, people, the kids of today have nothing to fear, therefore they, are not patriotic. Is that pretty much what he was saying?
Sounds like it.
Well, I have a different look at this, and the reason why is I think that most of what we've learned to fear has been a manufactured crisis, a manufactured enemy. A lot of things that we're doing, the terrorism that has occurred may have been a result of what we've done in their country first. We've done so much in intruding or manipulating the world in other countries. Obviously, there's going to be a backlash. And then you've got the social engineering aspect of this, where the left has been dictating what it is that we're supposed to be fearful of, or what we're supposed to be angry at, and declaring war on speech, and declaring war on and manufacturing racism out of such flimsy arguments. And to me, this is what this is all about: is social engineering. We've been told who to hate. We've been told, who the enemy is. And there's just a handful of people that are dictating this to us through the media. I don't look at it in a way that we are, the majority of the population of the world really don't have enemies like that. We are told and created, these enemies are created for us through everything that we're taught,
Ron Paul Jim, great thoughts. Thank you for listening. Fox News next. God bless and keep the faith.